My name's Theo. I am co-founder and CTO of VALR. And it's been 4 years since we started the company. And building something like this, building a company like this with people that you really like and respect, it's an interesting journey. And as we've gone through this journey, there were realizations that I had, and I want to share a little bit about those with you. So the most important thing that I want you to get out of this talk, and I'm going to reiterate it over and over and over and over again, is think about your purpose in life and your passion. And I know this sounds like a motivational speech. It's not, but it's my journey, and it's a realization that I had, and I want to share with you. So, average. I want to share my definition of average, and I want to share my concept of average. And we all like to think that we're not average, right? We all like to think that we're special, and we all are special in some way. But the fact of the matter is the very definition or the very concept of average is not everybody can be not average, right? Because average is just that. And so, for me, average is doing more, or the opposite of average, right, is doing more. And being average is okay, that's fine, right? But for me, the opposite of average is, you get both sides, right? Left and right side of average. But for me, it's more. It's giving your all, right? Deciding not to just do enough, because just enough is average, right? Deciding that whatever you do in life, you're going to do a little bit more than just enough. Sorry, just want to get some slides. And so we want to be extraordinary. I want to be extraordinary, right? I'm not going to speak for you, but I want to be extraordinary. I found that anything less is not as much fun. It's not as enjoyable. So, are you giving your all, right? So, it's a question that I had to ask myself, and it's a question that I want everybody else to ask themselves as well, right? Everybody here is, are you giving your all? And really ask that question. And again, one key takeaway from this is ask yourself that. And if you're not, find out why not, right? Find a reason to give your all. Find that reason, whether it's, changing jobs, come work for VALR. Whether, did I mention come work for VALR? We're hiring? No. But find your purpose, right? Are you giving your all? I'm very happy to ask, is there somebody that wants to share a reason why they're not giving their all? Not to put anybody on the spot. There we go. Burnout. So what is burnout? So, I actually had a caveat. I wanted to keep it positive, but the fact of the matter is I realized that caveat, not going to work. And so burnout is, it's something that's so near and dear to my heart. If you look at a racing car, they're not coasting. High performance means you have to put it against the red line, right? You're just at. And so burnout is a massive thing, right? What I've found with burnout is my passion. When I get to that point, I stop and I say, okay, cool, wow, things are starting to not look right here. The car, the red line, the check engine light is going on. And, okay, step away and figure it out. But that's me. And step away and figure out why I'm feeling burnout. Sometimes we just need a break. But if you've got that motivator, and this is for me, I found a motivator, I found a reason, and then burnout became a warning sign more than it became the reason why I shouldn't care anymore. Because it's so sad that burnout is the reason that you lose your passion. But I get it. It's a big thing. Anybody else? Yeah.
everybody else, it kind of takes away from the fun and the team working dynamic that you kind of want to get out of it.
So
That's one of the reasons sometimes we step away from the company.
people around you don't care as much, 100%. I mean, like, that is the fact. So again, join a company where people care, because I can't help you change people. So at VALR, we do care. Just a reminder, careers.valor.com. Don't, luckily they can't find me after this. So I really, really, really want to emphasize asking the question of, are you giving your all? And so to make this personal, in the beginning of VALR, I was doing 20 hours, right? And we're all in an industry that asks quite a lot of you, right? And I was doing 20 hours, 24 hours. I had a couple of nights. It's funny that it's a couple and not just one instance where I fell asleep at the keyboard. And the ones I fell asleep at the keyboard deleting some code. Luckily, I was using IntelliJ, so I could just like restore the code. Even after I restored it, it made 0 sense. But many of those nights, right, really, 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 really going hard. And so last year, August last year, towards the third quarter, fourth quarter, I think it's there, give or take a couple of months, I was really feeling burned out. Really burned out, right? Really asking myself, how can I go on? I still have this passion. I love VALR. I love the people. I love our customers, right? I want to do this, but I feel burned out. And so my family has a farm, or my parents have a farm. I say we have a farm. I absolutely do not own it, but by virtue of my parents owning it, we've got a farm, and it's just a place where we can chill. Beautiful part of the country, and it's just to escape. Where we live there, we've got these windy houses, right? And so 20 years ago, or whatever, my parents and the other people, they got the windy houses, and they put it there. And it's very much that, a windy house, and we say it. And when we went and visited, we would stay in my parents' windy house. And so my mom and dad snore. And when I say snore, I mean like they snore. I cannot begin to I don't think the word snore really... I wish I had a recording to just show you. But in any case, so they snore. That's the one problem. And the other problem is that parents-in-law are a lot. I'm married. I've got a wife, and I've got a kid of 6 and 4, and we wanted a space of our own as well, right? And so apart from not being able to sleep because my parents snore, I wanted a space for my wife as well. And so me build, and I decided, you know what, I want to build a house. I didn't prepare, and so we came the one weekend. I was like, I'm just going to go to the local town. It's 45 minutes away. I'm going to just go and buy some poles, dig some holes. We'll see where it goes. If I don't do anything other than that, I've got some poles and holes, and I've got a story to tell, right? And so let's try that. Tried it, and quickly realized 28 poles is a lot. No, I've got a very rough plan. Looked at my parents' windy house, and like, I've seen videos on YouTube, right, about people building these houses, and I want to do it well. So I'm going to double the poles and everything, but 28 holes is a lot. It's a lot to dig in one day. And so we went and we hired an auger. An auger is this massive beast of a machine that 2 people need to hold. One stands here, and this thing just has this massive drill bit. And it goes into the ground, it makes holes. Nice. And so we get this thing, but it's stupid expensive. I can't remember how much it was a day. It was very expensive. We get there, and we start, and this thing does not work. It's just like, it doesn't work. The drill bit is welded on. It's a typical rental thing that people don't care. And we start digging these holes, and we only got to it in the afternoon, and we dig. And about 7 or 8 at night, everybody at the farm, bunch of people say, okay, cool, you guys, please stop. Right? I think it was even before that they started coming asking surreptitiously, very friendly, when are you going to finish? Right? We want to have dinner. When are you going to finish? And I looked at my dad, and I said, we're going to finish this. We're going to finish this tonight. And this is now about 6, so we got lights. There's no electricity there, so we got lights. I love batteries. It's one of my hobbies, so solar. We've got lots of big lights, and we put it up. You can't really see, but we demarcated the lines and whatever, and we start with this auger, and we're already tired. We go, we do that, and it doesn't work, but it sort of works, and we get water. One of my aunties at the farm just didn't ask, just started watering the ground. It worked, it didn't work. 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock, I'm done. I'm so tired. I look at my dad and I'm like, I think we can do the rest tomorrow morning. He looks me in the eyes and he's like, no, we're finishing this. You said you're going to finish this. We're going to finish this. And so we're picking this thing up. You can't see where you're going. This thing is massive and we fall over it. And I don't know, go on YouTube videos about augers and people. This thing, if the drill bit gets stuck and its safety mechanism doesn't kick in, it swings the people around. There are many videos of this on YouTube. So we were tired, we're doing this. Somehow we made it through, and we had holes and we had poles, right? And so went home, and I couldn't stop thinking about this. I could not stop thinking about this. And again, at that point in time, I was really struggling to focus at VALR. Really struggling to give it my all, really struggling to not settle into average, right? Not settle into just enough. And so I couldn't, and I decided, you know what? Going to take a week. I can't remember how long it actually was. Going to take a week. Going to tell the family, I love you. Going to go there. Going to figure this out. We did a plan. Lots of my brother lives in New Zealand, and so they do houses. He's in construction, so he helped me. I watch YouTube, sketch a bunch of stuff together. And so I don't know how much of that you can see, but our little small house started to turn into something more than a little small house because everybody had opinions, and you don't want to offend them. So this was really hard to do, and the house is now almost done. We don't have a door or whatever, so I just made a hole in a wall, and we're going to sleep in a tent inside there, and that's going to be fun because at one point it needs to be an MVP, right? And so, but through that, I got to reflect. I got to really think back and question. I was reminded about how much I enjoy VALR, how much VALR means to me, and that I just need a break. There's this awesome book called Peak Performance. I can't remember the author. Peak Performance, and he speaks about breaks in there, right? But I could come back, I can do this, and I was reminded that night at 11, I was reminded why I care so much. And I'm extremely fortunate that my dad is such a hard-working guy, As I grew up, that was my example, work hard. Unfortunately, he worked hard, not for his passion, but he just worked hard. And so there was a missing link there. But I found that, and I found that in VALR. And I found that in not just VALR, but giving value to people, right? You see VALR value. It's not VALR. Most people say VALR. It's VALR. And it comes from value, right? We want to give value to our customers. And I found that I really do care about giving value. I really do care about it. And I started going on this journey about how to do that and how to influence other people to do that. In VALR, we're a family, right? We've got a couple of the guys sitting here in front. And it's very hard to convince somebody else to care as much as you do about your company, right? It's very hard to be an employee and care as much as the founders, right? And so, can we just work 9 to 5? Is that okay? What does 9 to 5 mean? What does caring not as much as a co-founder mean? Okay? Kent Beck in Extreme Programming Explained, second edition. Brilliant book. If you haven't read it, please read it. And if you're not going to read it, just please read it. But he speaks about the XP team as the first to be fired when things go bad, right? Because they're the guys that show up at 7 and they leave at their normal times. And, so when it's crunch time, management, I'm management, but management looks and sees who to fire, right? And these guys are not the most dedicated, so they need to go fire. Meantime, back at the ranch, it's the people with the most experience that are extremely good, right? So 9 to 5 is okay, but that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about when you're at work, you're not looking at your WhatsApps, right? When you're at work, it's funny how some people are looking at their WhatsApps while I say that, and I stop looking at their WhatsApps now. But you're not looking at your WhatsApp. You're giving all your attention to your task at your hand. Yes, you're tired, right? And sometimes when you're too tired, burnout, you sort of have to take a break. At VALR, we've got flexible leave policy. So if somebody's tired and they're not going to give their all, I'd rather them, take their car for a service, in the metaphor of them being a car. But I like cars. I don't know if you guessed. But take yourself for a service, have an off day, have a mental day, right? Get yourself right. If you feel like you're close to burnout, take leave. Obviously now, don't abuse it, because that's the opposite of passion, right? That's passion of something else that doesn't really work hard. It's not building yourself. But when you're there, give your all. And then you can do it a 9 to 5. One of the things that irritates me extremely right now is one of our guys left. He got an offer for, 4 days of work, 4 days a week, 4 days a week work. And that sounds great. When I heard it, I was like, wow, that sounds cool, right? And it does sound cool. The problem is he's in the beginning of his journey. Or not the beginning, but let's say sort of beginning of the middle. And so what are you spending your time on? I think you can get significant amount of time done in a significant amount of things done in 4 days. But then the whole premise is set up to say 4 days. So when you're in the beginning of your career, just like money compounds, just like when you need to save in the beginning to compound, right? Experience compounds as well. And so for me, when you are in the beginning of your career and you've chosen to not be average, you've chosen to do what you love to the full extent, then sometimes it does take more than 9 to 5, right? But in general, if you work really hard and you focus, you can get a lot done in a day. And I think this morning one of the questions alluded to this, but we all have the stories about too many meetings. I think it's one of the most fun things for a programmer to say, but I sit in meetings all day and it kills you, right? Find a different company or change the company, right? We can do so much only if we as a company, as a culture allow. We're very, very, very picky about picking people at VALR. And so, just like a glass of Oros, we don't want to go and just, if we've got the right mix, just start throwing in, adding water and water and water. We'll get a bigger glass of Oros, but it might not be a good glass of Oros, right? So we don't want to dilute our culture too fast. We want to make sure that we're throwing in the right mix of people, right? And so it's tricky to do because we're trying to scale internationally and high performance exchange. We've got a lot of people on our platform, hundreds of thousands of people. And so it's a big responsibility, and the answer just feels like, let's hire more people. But we want people that care. We want people that see our passion and see our vision. And we've got various ways to do that. And find one of the people with the VALR shirt and ask how much I'm lying. But I do believe that they do feel our vision. I'm extremely proud of them. But yeah, find your purpose. Go and look and find your purpose. One of the things that I love to do is mindfulness training, right? So meditation. I'm a Christian, and so for the longest period of time, I was so scared to do mindfulness because maybe I'm asking spirits to come and sit on my shoulder or whatever. It's not that. It's just taking 10 minutes and clearing your mind, preparing yourself for the day. Just getting your mind clear. And once I started doing that, I started being able to get into a position to reflect. And this is now just walking around and just hitting a hammer. There's also meditation as well, right? There's a lot of space for either hitting your thumb or thinking. And so after a while, your thumb doesn't hurt anymore. And then you get to think. But the mindfulness meditation really helped me to redefine my person. Once I found that purpose again, once I had that thing, I started reiterating that purpose. And everybody's purpose is different, right? Everybody Your purpose can also change. My purpose has changed from the beginning of VALR to the latter of VALR, and we're only 4 years old right now, so we're just starting out. But your purpose has changed. Your purpose will change, and every purpose is different. But once you have that purpose, you need to make sure that when things are difficult, when things are tough, you need to think about that purpose. You need to have that purpose at the top of your mind, right? And so it makes it a little bit easier. When you're struggling, when that colleague, when those teammates don't care as much, go look at your purpose, right? Your purpose is not your boss's purpose. And that is the trickiest thing for me to have realized. I've been working for a while now. And in the beginning of your career, you think your boss they define your purpose, or they define where you can go and within the bounds of them. And, I think it's Dan Pink from Autonomy, Mastery, and Purpose, but he speaks about extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation, right? And so extrinsic comes from outside, intrinsic comes from inside. Salary is extrinsic motivation. It's great, right? It is really cool to have money to do the stuff that you want. Hobbies is important. You need money for hobbies. But let's be honest, if you're really good at what you do in programming and the careers in tech, you can earn a good salary, right? If you're really good at what you do, if you really care. In any case, so finding a purpose, really just remembering that purpose as you go through, reminding yourself about that purpose, right? And meditation helps with that. And then when things get tough, I'm married. When things get tough, remember that purpose. So I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning of the talk, but I really want you guys to find your purpose and think about that purpose. If there's one thing that goes away, even if you think I'm a complete nutter and you're going to run the opposite way of VALR, just find your purpose and just remember your purpose, right? And reflect on that purpose. And you'll see that a lot of decisions start becoming a lot easier. It's easier to commit to something that you don't always want to commit to, because you're not just committing to it because somebody asked for it. You're committing to it because you believe this is going to serve your purpose, right? And so I'm married, as I mentioned, and when it's tough with me and my wife, right, because marriage is tough, right? I asked in an interview yesterday, name me the one thing that's always fun and easy, and he said love, and I was like, you've not been married, dude. But when things when things are sometimes rocky in our marriage, I remember why. What's our purpose in this marriage, right? And I start thinking about my wife, and I start thinking about the experience and our purpose in our marriage and why I'm in this. And wow, that fight seemingly seems a lot more silly right now. And similarly, when you're at work and you have this fight about something, you feel like you're so passionate about this. We need to do TDD, we need to do this, we need to do that, we need to do Scrum, and nobody's listening to me. And then remember your purpose, right? And then, okay, cool. Take a step back, go meditate, go think about it, figure out how to do it. Or again, change your job, come join VALR. Careers.valr.com. I don't think I've mentioned that, right? I want to sort of go into, how much time do I have? I'm still good. I want to go into a concept that I feel that is near and dear to my heart. Manda, that keynoted, he spoke about the coding ground, and it's something that we started together. And that, it started a journey of software craftsmanship for us. Way before that, we were speaking about software craftsmanship, and there is software craftsmanship, the Software Craftsmanship Manifesto, and that put me down a path, and I found this path of mastery, and I sort of forgot it. And I love books. I love to listen to things. And I found a book, 2 books on mastery by, I think it's George Leonard and Robert Greene. George Leonard's book, he spoke, I think it was George Leonard. Both books, George Leonard, Robert Greene, Mastery, read them please. But they speak about mastery being a journey, right? It's mastery being everything that you do in life, you need to do to the fullest extent. Because when you do something to the fullest extent, that's when you get the enjoyment. That's when you get the fulfillment, right? I said my purpose, adding value to VALR, right? And that's the key focus. When I make decisions, it's about, does this add value to our customers, to our employees, to myself or not? And so enjoying the journey, enjoying the fulfillment from giving it your all in mastery is one of the things why I love mastery so much, right? And so enjoying the journey is very important. One of the other things of mastery is, and there are a couple of things, and I'm not even going to try and explain mastery as well as those two authors have, but I love hobbies. I've got way too many hobbies, and hobbies are expensive, but they give you a reminder of what it feels like to learn something new, that joy that you had as a kid, right? That joy of exploring when we start programming, you see your first line of code or your first hello world. I will never, ever in my life forget the moment I was standard 4, and I was reading an HTML book while we were at a braai and all the other kids were watching TV or whatever, and I was reading this HTML book and I see these hex characters. This is, look, Dad, you can change the website, you can add colors by doing these characters. And that enjoyment for me, but so that was done in 4, very long time ago. And so, you start doing code and you go through varsity and you do these projects and your love starts to fade. You have that boss that causes you to burn out. You have that project where you go on holiday. I'm not speaking of personal experience, but you go on holiday with your family and you work constantly for somebody. I'm not very good at sarcasm. I am speaking about personal experience. But you go on holiday, you give your all for somebody because you fundamentally believe this is what they want and this is what they need, and you give it. You're on holiday with your family, you get home, and a couple of months later they can the projects. But thank you so much, right? That experience is still one of the best experiences of my life because I did give my all. I didn't give my all for them. I gave my all for myself, right? I learned a lot there. And it was actually one of the precursors to VALR, that whole concept. So if you find this thing that you really like to do, okay, I was actually speaking about hobbies. Sorry, I go on tangents. Please forgive me. So if you find something that you like to do, after a while, it gets monotonous, right? And you hit plateaus. You hit plateaus in hobbies, you hit plateaus in your work significantly. So I think it was Leonard that spoke about most of us, when we hit a plateau, we start asking and creating reasons why we shouldn't be doing this anymore. Right? You see a lot of people transitioning from programmers to BAs or project managers or whatever. I'm not going to say there's no problem with that because I'd be lying if my opinion's slightly different, right? But there are many reasons to do that for the right opinions. But oftentimes it's because we hit this plateau and we believe, we're not good enough anymore. Or maybe I'm just not a programmer. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this, and it's just simply because you've hit the plateau. Right? We can't expect that we're always going to just get better and better and better something without hard times. There's a lady called Carol Dweck. She wrote a book called Mindset. And in there she speaks about you can either have a fixed mindset or you can have a growth mindset. If you're a parent, also read this book. If you're not, also just read this book. But she speaks about a growth mindset. And you can either believe that you can do something, or you can't, or you can believe that you can't do it yet, right? A growth mindset. Fixed mindset is what they teach us at school. I'm good at maths, I'm bad. That's it, end of story. Growth mindset means no. I believe that I can get good at this. Yes, I'm not as talented as the next person, but often in the long run, it's not about talent, right? There are many books, many people, many examples. It's not about talent, right? It's not about talent. It's about effort. Yes, talent makes it easier in the beginning, but effort, that's the thing. Finding your passion, keeping with it, that is the thing that plays out in the long run. And so a couple of other things on mastery is mentorship I love books. I love reading. Right? We believe that mentorship is very hard to find in programming, and mentorship is very hard. It's very hard to be a mentor in programming, right? Because you're so focused on, as Mancha mentioned earlier, your deadline, right? You don't want to get shot, so you're so focused on yourself that it's very hard to be a mentor on your work. And at VALR, it's hard, right? We've not made it. We've just done our Series B, and it might look to some people that, yeah, we've got a lot of money now, and so we've made it, but we've just started, right? And so it's very hard to set up a mentorship program when you feel like you might not be around tomorrow. But there are other people that can be your mentors, right? So that's why I love books. Oh, I love books. And every book that I read is my mentor. You get the benefit of somebody's life experience in a couple of pages, right? On Audible or whatever. And so those can be your mentors. There are many mentors around here as well when you go to a conference, right? So, but mastery, apprentice, journeyman, master, right? Master teaches the journeyman. But it's a core part of mastery is finding somebody that has experience and learning from them. So read books, find those people in your company. Mentorship doesn't need to be 5 hours a day, right? It might just be somebody that revitalizes your thinking or reminds you about your craft, teaches you something small, just asks you a question. I've got a colleague, Janko Volmerans, he's spoken at some of these conferences, or a previous colleague, but he's spoken at some of these conferences, and he would ask a question. He was one of my mentors, one of my big mentors. We didn't spend a lot of time together. In fact, I never had a formal mentorship program with him, but he would ask a question, just one question, and that question will completely transform your mind, right? So that's what you want from a mentor, but it's not easy to get. And then practice. I'm sure everybody that's ever went to a conference talk has heard perfect practice makes perfect, not practice makes perfect, but it's absolutely true, right? Just practice for the sake of it. That is not giving it your all. Anybody can practice, right? We learn how to practice, but perfect practice. And we look at traditionally, especially in sort of like the mid part of our careers, okay, practice, we're coders, we're this, we're that. Let me go and do a Udemy course. Let me do a Coursera course. But that doesn't necessarily mean practice, right? Practice means look at where you're at, look at what you need, maybe consult with people, and really invest in it. And then really invest in the concept of starting out at the basics and spending time on it and going through a journey of mastery, not for the sake of becoming the best, because true masters realize that they will never be the best. They will always be able to get better, right? So it's not about the case for not average. It's not about being the best or being better than everybody else, right? It's about being your best and giving your best. Okay, and so true mastery is anything that you do, whatever level, you're practicing and you're perfecting it, right? Most athletes, can't remember which book I read it. In any case, it's probably in a book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. But most athletes actually practice 2 to 4 hours a day, right? Only 2 to 4 hours a day, most top athletes. And it goes back to that concept of, they've put in the time, compounded to get to where they are now. But 2 to 4 hours a day, and we can eke out something to that effect, right? But perfect practice makes perfect. So I've spoken about defining your purpose, your reason for doing this. And I've spoken about my struggle last year, but come December, I started thinking about that house again. And I started thinking about other things again, and I got sick, and I got tired, and I started realizing that I was going to my phone a little bit too often, checking WhatsApp, and it's a good excuse, right? When there's a hard problem, when I'm running that test and that test fails and I have absolutely no clue why that test is failing, CTOs are allowed to code, just so that you know. But I reach for that phone because in my mind I tell myself, no, I'm just taking a break to subconsciously solve this problem, right? Meantime, back at the Rhines, that's not it. I'm just reaching for my focus. I don't want to deal with the problem. And I realized this, and I started going through this. And mindfulness helped me again to realize this. And so I took a notebook, put it on top of my phone. And every time I reached for my phone, I got the notebook instead, and I have to write down the reason. And as I wrote down the reasons, it became extremely clear that I'm just doing an avoidance. Right? I'm just trying to avoid the hard problems. And so I've been going on a journey, and just from that first step, it's been significantly better now. I like very, very, very happy, but happy that I got on that journey, right? But I had to be intentional. I had to care to put that notebook, because I could have very easily said, nah, whatever. I could have very easily said, well, it is what it is, and I'll just, I'm a co-founder, and nobody can fire me. Well, they can, but still. But it's easy to just coast. But no, remember the purpose. Think about what I want to do, and so notebook. Because I really want to become the best that I can be. And I realize I'm probably almost out of time. Dan Pink, book, Autonomy, Mastery, and Purpose. Go and read that book. I'm trying to pick the cool stuff that I haven't said. But there are many books, right? Flow from Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, really good book. Focus is insanely important. Exercise. Exercise is extremely important. Your body works in concert with your mind. 5 o'clock comes, I stand up. I go and do my calisthenics exercise. I was getting so sick and tired of waiting for somebody at the gym, driving half an hour there just to stand and wait for the guy to, do his weights and sit and check his WhatsApps. WhatsApp is a thing. And waste my time. And so I just love hobbies, got a welder, welded some calisthenics equipment together. And 5 o'clock, whether I'm tired or not, whether I've got an excuse or not, it's just that first 2 minutes that I say, my alarm goes off, I go and exercise, right? And so exercise encourages you to sleep healthier. Exercises encourage your body to work better, more efficient, okay? And sleep. So cool, that's it. Thank you so much. I think the main purpose that I want you to go away with is careers.valor.com. No, I'm just joking. Is purpose, right? Find your purpose, believe in your purpose, okay? And remind yourself of that purpose and take breaks. That's it. I don't know if I've got time for questions. Are there questions? I'm sure if yeah. Oz, you're cheating. Let's see. Somebody, there is a mic, he's coming. If I don't have time for questions, I'm sure somebody will throw me out. I am also going to be at the VALR stand, so please come have a chat if you do want to.
Cool. Thanks, Theo, for such a really good talk. You took us on a journey, on a very personal journey. You mentioned at some point you had to reevaluate your purpose, and your purpose has changed. Can you share with us a little bit, how that actually panned out? I know we're out of time, but just share with us how you reevaluated your purpose, what your purpose was, and what it's changed to.
It's very personal, No, so in the beginning it was a startup, right? It was just starting, and it was just doing something that I want to do. Cryptocurrency, I really believe in the whole concept, and it was just doing something that I really want to do, and that worked. And as I mentioned, I'm a Christian, and from a religious perspective, I felt this is my purpose right now. But as you go along, things change, and so I reevaluated, and I realized it is still that, but it's not enough. And I think the thing that I really, 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 really found is I care about value. I really care about value to our customers. And it sounds a bit iffy, but that was a reminder. And I said, well, if I do care about value, and I do care about what I do, right? Adding value to the world, that's where I got that purpose again. I know I'm not answering your question exactly, but I found I had to really, really dig deep and try and really understand, and mindfulness helped me. Once I got that I want to add value, I could play back to, well, how to do that now, and it is a journey. Cool stuff.
I don't know if you have enough time. I was curious about, you mentioned that at VALR you are picky about talent and who you bring on board. And the fact that your talk is all about giving your all, I am wondering how you detect from interviewing a candidate that this person is, that you can detect that the person is going to fit in your culture, that the person is actually going to give some portion of their all, at some level that is acceptable as per your criteria.
Good question. Very good question. Many answers, many years of working with passionate people. So it's not an easy one to just say this is what I do. But there are a lot of cursors, markers that we see that we sort of choose to ignore because we're so sick and tired of interviewing people that we just start taking anybody, right? But you can easily see when somebody has a smile on their face, and it might not be a smile, but you can see that passion. Right, you can see that they care about. I had an interview where I asked the guy, what is DevOps? And he was saying, no, it's containerization and Dockerization. I'm like, no. Right, because that's not DevOps. DevOps is so much more than, it's enabling people, it's enabling the team. You can only go as fast as you can with the right DevOps environment. And so there are markers, but I can't tell you exactly what those are, and it's different for every team. We have a really high standard, and so it is tricky. Cool stuff. Thank you so much, everyone. Enjoy the conference.